I think on a journey of self-improvement, a lot of us have in our head that we're trying to get to somebody. We're trying to get somewhere. We're trying to become someone without realizing that you already are somebody. You already have a life you're living. You already have an identity. You already have a space you take up. And I don't say that just to say it. I mean it to say that, you know, when improving yourself, don't get lost in who you want to become. Don't get lost in where you want to go. Become lost in who you are. Become immersed in everything that has to do with you. Not to say be selfish, not to say be narcissistic, but to say appreciate the things you appreciate wholeheartedly. Love the things you love wholeheartedly. I feel like it's easy to say life's too short, but in all honesty, life is too short. We never know what might happen. And I think it's much more valuable to live the life you want to live right now than to wait until you feel like you're able, feel like you're worthy. I don't mean that in saying like your actions. I don't mean to say like go waste all your money and move to Paris or something like that. I mean to say that do as much as you can now. Make the impact you want to make now. Start trying to make the impact. Put yourself in a situation to achieve what you want to achieve, regardless of the time. Just go to achieve it. I feel like time really gets on our way in terms of our expression and in our cultivation of our goals and ideas. Like I feel like we might, you know, put a lot of distance between ourselves and our goals. And we, instead of, feeling like we already achieved it, feeling like we deserve it or are grateful for it, we push it off to the side and act as if, I don't know, it will never happen. Or it's so distant that we can't even see it in our current life. And I feel like we have to open the door in our head before it can open in real life. You have to be ready to accept those kind of blessings and whatnot. You have to put yourself in a situation to the point where if opportunity does arise, if things do happen that are characteristic of your own growth or characteristic of your own success and what you desire, you're able to, seize that opportunity. I feel like it's really easy to get caught up in our minds in that way as well. I feel like the lives we live are super stressed. We stress ourselves out about things that we probably shouldn't. If it's not in your head, it probably shouldn't be. Or if it's not in your hands, it shouldn't be in your head. I feel like a lot of times we stress about things that aren't in our control. And a lot of stuff is not in our control. A lot of stuff doesn't have to do with us. And that's not to say that, you're not important or, things don't pertain to you. It's to say that you have to realize when things aren't for you. You have to realize when you're working towards something that isn't for you. I think part of that is also putting in that 100%. Making sure all of you is within everything you do in a way to know that it's not for you. I feel like it's when we have do things that we are able to teeter totter. When we have invest ourselves in certain things, then it's like, oh well, part of me messes with it, part of me doesn't though, because you're not investing that part. You're not investing that part. Part of me doesn't like it, part of me does. That part that does, you never really know. And I feel like it's that dichotomy, that duality between the two, that allows us to be in between, allows us to be comfortable and uncomfortable in the same moment and make no progress at all. So it's about taking that 100% step, the 100% being there with yourself. And I made a video the other day about being present. It's about being present too. Everything's about being present. I feel like it always tends towards that, but it really is. Being there with yourself enough to know yourself enough to get to where you want to go, to know where you want to go, know who you want to be, and know how you want to get there. Um, I think in my experience, the thing that helped me out most was not necessarily realizing like I was somebody, like just realizing that I already am who I am. You know, not to say that I can't change, not to say that I'm not ever changing, but to say that I'm not aiming to become an identity. I already am an identity. I'm aiming to make that identity the best possible version of itself. I'm aiming to be the best possible version of myself, not become something entirely different. And I think some of us try to become entirely different. We see other people on their path. We see other things, and we compare ourselves to them. And in some way, we just jump to become them. And in doing that, we leave a lot of ourselves behind. And in doing that, you leave yourself behind. I think it's all of the parts that make up the person. The negatives, the positive, the in-betweens. It's not just the positive aspects of yourself that are you. It's not just the negative either. And I'm not saying you have to regard the negative and attach it to your identity, but the parts of you that are negative aren't to be ignored. They're to be worked on. They're to be ironed out, converted into something positive rather than allowing it to sit in negativity. I feel like sometimes it's easy to sit in negativity. It's easy to take the low road. It is. I think that's why most people do it. But I think one thing that comes with self-care and self-love and self-appreciation is the realization that you kind of do it for yourself. It's an expression of your own love to make sure you're not stressed, to make sure what you're doing is contributing to your life. Like, oh, I'm not gonna just sit here and not study even though I have a test next week. Why would you do that to yourself? And I think that part of self-love, it gives you that discipline, gives you that motivation to just keep going. Like, yeah, I'm gonna take care of myself. Yeah, I'm gonna get myself together enough to truly experience what life has to offer, to show myself all that I can do, all that I can be. And not taking that 100% and not instilling in yourself that you already are. You ought to lose the other percent. Like, you're wasting some of the space you take up, or wasting some of the potential you have. And I know it's easy to kind of say that, like, in a way that implies that we have like unlimited energy, unlimited motivation towards everything. But sometimes you just have to do stuff just to do it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a suffering. It just has to be I have to do this, then I can, engage in tomfoolery or something like that. That's how I view it. Sometimes I do stuff just to make the fun more fun. You have to work in order to relax sometimes. And in that way, I feel like the more work you put in, the more you give to yourself, the more you actually do stuff, you're building in your discipline, your humility, and you're putting yourself on a path to do what you want while also being able to experience the good aspects of life. It's the dichotomy that makes everything beautiful. It's the light that makes dark dark. It's the dark that makes dark light. It's everything that is. So I think the point is, or the implication, is to be wholeheartedly you. Express yourself genuinely, treat yourself with care, realize the parts of you that need to change. And I know I don't know how to like necessarily scope out the parts of you that need change, but we all have parts of ourselves that we want to run away from. We want to ignore and lock deep down within us. But I feel like there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of potential that you have in converting that thing and handling that issue. I feel like it just opens life and makes it more beautiful, more attainable. Realizing that you can overcome something that you have in your head. And I feel like most of our battles are mental. So in overcoming that, we're building up our mental strength and our ability to overcome future problems. And that's the beauty of it all. Like, yeah, I did that. Let's see what else I can do. Now I know when this happens, I still have the same mental foundation to attack anything I want. I feel like that's what's most important, is being able to tell yourself and be proud of what you've done regardless. And I said sometimes you have to fall down and pat yourself on the back just for falling down. You don't fall down from the ground, you fall down from standing up, from being up. That means you were doing something. Sometimes you have to acknowledge the negatives, of falling down, the negatives of failure, in order to understand how close you are to success, how you have to get up and keep going, how close you are to achieving what you want to achieve, and how who you are contributes to that. All that to say, treat yourself like somebody. Don't just live your life in awe or in expectation that at some point you're just gonna feel like you are somebody, or feel like you already achieved everything, or feel like you got to a point, because I don't think that ever happens. Even the most successful people are still fighting for something. You know, part of the human experience, I feel like, it's constantly cultivating another goal after goal after goal, and it can seem tedious, but if you're not doing that, you're doing nothing. And once you achieve something, you find something else to achieve. That's called growth. Now, if you want to be stagnant, I mean, you can. There are people who live like that, but I don't find necessary comfort in that. You know, stagnation long term, I don't think works out. You know, short term, okay, I get it. Sometimes you need to. Sometimes it's like this. Sometimes it's like growth, learning period, growth. And in that learning period, you might feel like you're stagnant, and I feel like that's 100% okay. Like so I write, but in one of my like halfway through my writings, I just wrote like gain more knowledge, and I didn't write for like another 2 months, just so I could focus on like reading, experiencing, absorbing from the world, so I can truly get to that point, truly get there, and be able to, I don't know, bring out parts of myself that I didn't previously know were there. So if you made it this far in the video, first of all, I would like to thank you. Appreciate you. As y'all can see, it's a chain of seasoning. I'm back at home for spring break. I wish I was in like New York or something, but it's okay. Or Chicago, but it's okay. I do what I can. It's nice to see family. Make sure y'all taking care of your family. Doing what you can to just be yeah. Overall, appreciating yourself, treating yourself like someone you're trying to help, and being there for yourself as well. All in all, thank you.